I'd like to welcome you to this edition of Emu Today. Thank you for joining us. We want you to sit back and relax and enjoy the conversation. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today. Always glad to be here. How are you?
I'm doing great. Always good to have you back. And of course, Ms. Sarah Potaraki, who's our student co-host, doing a great job. We thank you for all you're doing as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, we have a very, very special show today. I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Ray Quiel. And Ray is the nationally recognized expert in forensics. And we're going to spend some time chatting today about that. He's also the assistant professor of communications here at Eastern Michigan University. Ray, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We are so happy to have you. So I just want to start with a very, very basic question. What is forensics?
Forensics is a competitive academic team at Eastern Michigan University. And there are forensics programs at high schools all across the nation and hundreds, if not thousands, of colleges and universities where students compete in 9 different events. Generally, the events are broken down into 3 categories. The first category would be limited preparation events, where I might give you a current events question, and you have maybe a half hour to formulate your answer, write your speech, and then step into a room and present it. Or I may give you an impromptu quotation, where you may have up to maybe 90 seconds to figure out what that quotation means and write a 5 or 6 minute speech. The second category would be your most traditional forensics events, platform speaking, we call it, or podium speaking, although we really don't use podiums or platforms anymore. Mm-hmm. And that would be an oratory or a persuasion or a speech to entertain or an informative speech. And then the third set of events are the performance of literature, prose, poetry, excerpts from drama. And so forensics is the performance of literature. It's the search for truth. So we're familiar with it in that context of forensic science. Mm-hmm. And so the Latin definition is of the public forum or of the court's argumentation in law. So forensics often lives in company with what we call debate. At Eastern, we add to that definition by incorporating the forensic science perspective and say it's the search for emotional and argumentative truth. And we do, among all the colleges in the nation, we do among the best jobs of finding that truth through performance.
And we're going to come back to that in a second. Sir, you were telling me before we started doing the show today that you've been involved in forensics in the past. Is that right?
Yes, way back in the past. I wasn't as involved in high school, but I know 7th, 8th grade in middle school, I was wildly interested. And I think it was, I didn't have a theater performance outlet, and that was the next best thing for me, was getting up there.
And that's kind of helped you, though, even going back to the 7th and 8th grade, it's helped you with your public speaking and your confidence, I would think. Is that right?
Yes, that's actually a question I wanted to lead back to you. A lot of people think performance, then they think theater. A lot of people hear the word forensics, they think science. What would you say are the qualities from both that really feed into being a good, forensic speech giver?
Like an effective competitor?
Yes.
One is just a broad-based knowledge or curiosity about the world. Because if you want to figure out how things work, that prepares you and makes you intellectually curious to research and write an informative speech. Or if you have a passion about some social injustice that you witness or perhaps you've experienced, that gives you the motivation to research and write a persuasion or an oratory. Or if you don't want to dwell in the world of doom and gloom, we have an event called After Dinner Speaking, or a speech to entertain, where we make a serious point through the use of humor. Okay. We have a student right now who's critiquing the male apology, the seeming ineffectiveness of males in our culture to deliver an effective apology.
I need to take that.
Yeah, it was a great speech. I learned a few things myself. Took him home that afternoon, put him into place.
Yeah, you know, and one of the things that we have, as a university, have so much to be proud of is that we have a nationally recognized program, one of the most successful programs. As I was doing my research, we're one of the most successful teams in the country, and we have placed in the top 10 for over the last 40 years. Is that right?
Yeah, more than 40 years.
Talk to us about that success.
Well, this team won its first national championship in 1973. It was second in 71 and 72. And those were the very first years of a national collegiate forensics championship. So we were a ground floor charter member of the National Forensics Association. And our director at the time, Dennis Began, built upon that early success and really built a dynasty that dominated the circuit through the 70s and into the early 80s. We won national championships as late as '87. I coached a team in 2007 to second in the nation. But in some, we've had 11 national championships and never finished out of the top 10. And we're talking about competing against University of Texas, or Princeton will show up. Michigan sometimes brings a strong team. We're talking about brand name institutions that we go toe to toe with, and more often than not.
So what makes us so successful in this field? What makes a successful forensics team? What are some of the key attributes?
I think some of the attributes are recruiting, recruiting, and recruiting. And then once you get that talent on campus, we have a wonderful alumni support system and a pretty good infrastructure of coaching. And our university does a wonderful job of supporting academic teams and forensics in particular. Sometimes I get to travel a lot. I mean, one year Lori said you were gone 72 days. Lori's my registered domestic partner. She teaches in the English department. She says, you're on the road 72 days. And I get to talk to colleagues all over the nation, and many times they're envious of the level of support we get. So you have the institutional support, and you recruit talent, and then you coach. And what you can't make up with raw talent, you make up by outworking the other schools.
Can you relate to that?
Yes, oh yes, definitely. I notice a lot of the forensics team work seems to be done, they're all together always, and they're very, very busy. I know a lot of people who have done performance or have competed in anything or worked on a team, like that becomes your life. Yeah. And I was just wondering, what does like a competition week look like for someone who's a member of that team?
So your week might, if we want to say the week starts on Sunday, I don't know, you kind of frame your week. And then Monday there's a team meeting. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday you've signed up with individual coaches. We have event specialty coaches. Like I'm a strong coach in impromptu speaking or in any of the current events or argument. I'm not such a strong coach in poetry. Okay. So you sign up for coaches and you work in these one-on-one coaching sessions, usually an hour. When you're further along, perhaps we'll make it a half hour and just polish your work. And so you're independently working, and then on Friday you leave for a tournament, usually in the Midwest because of our budget constraints, but we try to take larger trips. We'll go to California once this year because our national championship tournament is there this year. And then you drive to Peoria, Illinois, or Muncie, Indiana, or Akron, Ohio, and you compete all day Saturday in preliminary rounds. If you're lucky enough, you go to a semifinal and a final round, and then you do it all over again on Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I'm just curious. So we have this outstanding program, one of the best in the country. Talk to us about the high school students. Is forensics, is that still offered at the high school level? And a lot of the students who come to Eastern Michigan, are they coming directly from the programs in high school, or are they, for the lack of a better word, newbies coming into the program on campus?
The vast majority of our super successful students were competitors maybe in junior high.
Yeah.
I started in 9th grade. Most high schools have, or many high schools, used to be able to say most high schools have a forensics program. So at the National High School Tournament, there'll be 3,000 to 6,000 students. There'll be hundreds of schools. If you wanted to, like if Eastern wanted to sponsor an event, it's $35,000 just to sponsor an event at the high school national tournament.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, as you might imagine, it's very much like we could use an analogy to athletics. I mean, coaches will come from all over the country and be coaching and recruiting at that tournament. And then this weekend, our current director of forensics went to a high school tournament in Perry, Ohio, because there's a young man there who was a high school national champion as a sophomore. Oh, wow. And we've already tried to offer him a scholarship to get him to come to Eastern. I mean, honestly, it's somewhat embarrassing, but I've recruited junior high kids trying to convince them to come to Eastern.
Like, well, as you said, it's getting no different than athletics, where it's starting.
In that regard, it's really not.
Yeah, and so, Mike, I guess it sounds like it's still, even in this day and age, very competitive. It's a very competitive program.
It's intensely competitive.
Intensely competitive.
Yeah. If you go to the national tournament, which is a 5-day tournament.
How many times a year is the national tournament?
Once a year. It's in April, always the third week in April. And it rotates. Schools put in bids. Last year we were in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, at a University of Wisconsin Oshkosh. This year we're out at University of California, Santa Ana. Next year we already know we'll be at Illinois State University.
So when the different universities show up,
yeah.
you know, talk about that intensity. Talk about the how they prepare for that national championship?
Well, you prepare all year round.
All year round.
Oh, sometimes we say May is our vacation month because our tournament is over in April, and people take May off, and then you start working for the next year in June. Many coaches, in fact myself included, work summer camps. Like we work the Baylor camp or the George Mason camp, and you recruit out of those camps, and it's a similar parallel to the basketball camp or something like that.
You're in a very competitive field, in our closing minutes, so you're in a very competitive field. How have you been able to distinguish yourself in terms of all the programs that you're involved in? I know you're involved in theatrics and things like that.
One of my personal, not necessarily a mantra, but something I follow with myself is, if I'm asked to do something I don't know how to do, I say yes and I figure it out. Yeah. And that's been huge for me, distinguishing myself, because if someone wants me to do something and I'm like, I want to be able to do that, I need to learn now.
Yeah. And with what Sarah just explained, similar thought process for the forensic students in terms of just being committed and dedicated?
Very, very, very similar. And we encourage our students to stretch, you know, to use that same metaphor. If they don't know the event of poetry, give it a try. We'll find a little less competitive tournament. Not all the tournaments are these super hyper competitive. We could go to a little tournament maybe at Hope College, and there'll be 6 or 7 schools there, and that'd be a nice safe place for you to do your poetry or something like that.
Never know when you'll discover your passion.
In our closing seconds, a very simple answer is the program growing, flat?
So last year we struggled a little. We were still in the top 10.
Okay.
But we have a brand new director this year, and a new energy, and I think, and most impressively, a new scholarship package.
Well,
for the first time, we've got a reasonable number of full ride scholarships.
Well, Ray Quiel, we want to thank you, the past director of the forensics area here at Eastern Michigan University, currently assistant professor of communication. Thank you. And we're going to go to Derica Bennett, and she's going to talk to you about the study abroad programs here at Eastern Michigan University.
We really, really want students thinking about studying abroad as soon as they get here. We even encourage them to come and talk with us before they even start in the fall.
EMU offers a wide range of travel programs for students where they can study outside the country and in different states from a week up to a year. Here's a look.
We have faculty-led programs where students travel with faculty who teach full-time here at Eastern Michigan University. And they go for like a week to, it could be up to 3 weeks, to Europe, China, and they take like 3 to 6 credits. It's usually 3 credits. We have around 20 of those programs every year that we offer. We also have semester year options, as we were just talking about. So recently we partnered with ISA, International Studies Abroad, and so now we have, I think it's around 60 programs. We have a partnership with ICN in France. Students can attend here for 2 years as a business major and then go to ICN, take a year's worth of credits there, earn a degree from ICN, come back here, go to school for another year, and basically get another bachelor's degree. We also have a program at Korea University, the Sejong campus, and they offer incentives for students to go. There are U.S. travel courses available to students who might not be ready to study abroad, but they can still take 3 credits with faculty. And there's some great programs like Civil War and Reconstruction Tour, and that tours through Gettysburg and Richmond and D.C. There's another program that goes to New York, Jewish Identity and American Theater. Scholarships they can really vary. Our office offers an experience scholarship, and that's only for faculty-led programs. We give around $500 scholarships for up to, I would say, 6 students a year. Outside of our office, any of their majors, they should look in at to see what scholarships they offer through that department. There are several options, I believe, through the Honors College. Students who are Pell Grant eligible can also qualify for national scholarships. And then there's also the FENS scholarship, which is available to students participating in the European Cultural History program. Well, the first step to studying abroad is to come and talk with us. You can check out our website, and get an idea of what you want, where you might want to go. And then we also have advisors. In fact, we have an advisor on board who used to be an academic advisor, so she can really give you some insight to how different programs can fit into your program of study and come up with some great options for you. We have peer advisors, which are students who have studied abroad before, and they can give you the ins and outs. They can tell you, oh yeah, you got to get your, your rail pass this way, and you got to try out this restaurant, and this is how you navigate the bus system. I will say though, a lot of times, and I probably should look this statistic up, a lot of our students who study abroad on short-term programs end up on semester year programs too, because they get the bug.
For more information regarding the travel programs offered here at Eastern Michigan, you can head on down to the Study Abroad Program office located inside the Student Center in room 242. You can also contact them by phone and email. I'm Derica Bennett. Back to you.
Thanks, Derica. We appreciate that information about the programs. We have some great programs here at Eastern Michigan University. We're going to continue the conversation with Sarah and myself, and our next special guest is Mr. Paul Knollman, who's the Dean of Business at Monroe County Community College. Is that right?
That's right, down in Monroe.
Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Fantastic. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. We are so pleased to have you, and just kind of give us a very brief overview of the college itself.
Okay, sure. Community college located in Monroe, Michigan, serving Monroe County and students in Monroe County and the nearby other counties. We reach into Toledo somewhat and bring some students in from Toledo. Current enrollment's about 3,000 credit students. A number of academic programs and majors, and a huge part of what we do is work towards the Associate of Science, which is a transfer program to places like Eastern Michigan University.
And that's my next question. You have a very strong relationship to EMU. You're a feeder college, if you will, to Eastern Michigan University. Talk to us about that relationship.
Well, I've been dean about 20 years, and one of the most successful things that we do at the college, both with the occupational programs and the transfer programs, is to assist students in transferring to the university level. Many people know that starting at a two-year school has lots of advantages. The cost is usually a little bit lower than a university, and students get to stay in their home territory if they don't feel confident enough is one thing that happens, and they don't feel like moving away to a university. Our relationship with Eastern Michigan is by far the strongest relationship of any university we have. Toledo University, Michigan State, University of Michigan, great schools, but we have such a wonderful partnership with EMU that we just keep building on it. In my area, in the business department, we have an articulation agreement with Eastern that allows students to complete up to 82 credits at the community college, transfer all of them transfer to EMU, and then the students can complete their studies up to the 124 that's required. The program we're kind of talking about today has to do with supply chain management, which is in the College of Business, and Dr. Lewis Hershey has been a great partner in setting up this particular program in partnership with us.
What exactly is that program?
Well, the program here at Eastern Michigan University is supply chain management. Took me a while to catch on to exactly what supply chain management means, and if you think about everything that winds up somewhere, it had to go through a supply chain. The toys that your kids will get for Christmas and the food that you eat every day and the clothes we're wearing all came through a supply chain process.
It's basically getting it from point A to point Z. You want to have that tight chain
yes.
that allows you to get the cost efficiencies and very fluid. It's a very fluid process. The only reason I know is I teach that in my various classes.
Okay,
and
sure.
I have quite a few supply chain students. Yeah, in the class. Do you know that much about supply chain management as well?
No, because I'm a marketing minor, so I spend a lot of time. There'll be some like supply chain students in my classes, and they always mention it, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's nice to know now it's just one of those things in this world that's essential, and we just don't know the name for it usually.
And you find a great partnership between the marketing curriculum and the supply chain curriculum. There's a lot of close
Absolutely.
relationships.
When they come into the College of Business, of course, the students will need to come from Monroe with our 1 and 200 level business courses. Then when they get into the College of Business, of course, they have to take the general requirements to get into the College of Business, and then there's a selection of possible majors and concentrations. This is the first time that we have started working towards marketing and targeting a particular concentration with the partnership with Dr. Hershey. And I must say that it came to our attention through a program through our Monroe County Business Development Corporation, and their president, Tim Lake, give Tim a shout out. He came to us and said, we need educated, trained, motivated individuals to enter the industry of supply chain management. I did like you did. What? What is that? What does that
But she's
mean?
doing less for what right now?
Yeah. And so we started talking about it, and he said distribution, logistics. And I said, well, okay, why? Why should we pull that out of the College of Business and stress it? And he said, we're working on a program called Monroe County Link. And it's a program to raise the awareness that Monroe County, given its location, south of Wayne County, north of Toledo, railroad tracks, US 23, I-75 corridor, all run through Monroe County.
You mentioned something very interesting before I segue into another question.
Sure.
You talked about the power of the network. You said Dr. Hershey kind of made some connections. It talks about, the power of the network, and that's what business is based on, is building relationships. Those relationships can serve and lead to opportunities, in this case between the community college and Eastern Michigan as well.
Right, and bringing in the Monroe County Business Development Corporation, Dr. Hershey has met with Mr. Lake and some colleagues of mine at the college, and we're trying to pull out and highlight some of the things here at EMU, and then hopefully we're actually going to start some courses at the 1 and 200 level in logistics or supply chain management, distribution management. Now the issue is the College of Business has accreditation. 1 and 200 level courses can't transfer in as 3 and 400 level. But that's fine, because there's a whole market of student that might only want to do those 1 and 200 level to go right into the world of work. As we start thinking about where Monroe County is, the BDC, Business Development Corporation, has identified 8 possible parcels just within Monroe County along the I-75 corridor, and they're going to promote those out to industry.
So sir, I got to ask you, Detroit has a bridge, the Ambassador Bridge, and there was a legendary hockey player by the name of Gordie Howe. You know who he is? You know who he was?
I've heard the
You've
name.
heard the
I don't
name.
do sports so much.
That's all right. He was a legendary one. Many people call him the greatest Detroit Red Wing of all time.
Okay.
And there's a bridge that's going
Sure
up called
is.
the Gordie Howe International Bridge, which will be connecting the U.S. and Canada, just as the other bridge connects the U.S. and Canada.
Right.
Talk about the relationship between Monroe Community College. It's at Monroe County Community College.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And keep the county in their name.
Absolutely, keep the county in the name. And that relationship with the bridge, and how has that been welcomed down there?
Well, this is actually what sparked the BDC back when they first started their conversations, because it's predicted that this is going to be the busiest international crossing in the United States, coming across from Windsor into the Detroit metro area. Just think about all the goods that need to flow through there from the U.S. into Canada, and then from Canada back to the U.S. The trucks and rail loads that are coming across that bridge, it's predicted that, and kind of a funny way to say it, but 60 to 70% of those trucks are going to make a left turn when they get into the U.S. What's after that left turn? Monroe County.
Monroe County.
Monroe County. As goods are coming out of the United States and into Canada through this new Gordie Howe International Bridge, everything coming from the south and the west will have to converge on the bridge. What do they have to do? Well, they have to go through Monroe County. Interstate 8090 goes east and west from Chicago through Toledo, through to Cleveland and to the East Coast, and then of course to the west to all points west 8090. That's only about 15 minutes from Monroe County, up I-75. And 75, of course, as we know, goes all the way to Florida and opens up the entire southern part of the United
So there's a
States.
huge opportunity here, business opportunity, economic development opportunity.
Economic
with-
development,
as
there
it
you go.
relates to Monroe County. I mean, it's another great example in the business world of those relationships being formed, and then Monroe County will certainly be one of the beneficiaries of this bridge, which will also employ, by the way, thousands of people on both sides of the border.
Well, and tourism will be huge also.
I gotta ask.
yeah,
Is
please.
it gonna be flashy, like a nice color, like the ambassador is?
They haven't called me yet on how to paint the bridge, but I anticipate that phone call any day now.
Interesting. Stylizing. phone calls?
Stylized
Interesting.
lights and
Well,
yeah.
you know, have you seen the
Well, the Ambassador Bridge is beautiful.
Oh, that's been around, it was 1920 or so.
Yeah,
That's
and
way
it's
back.
still-
So, and in fact, you're right, that border is so busy, you know, I think this clearly this will
Very
be
busy.
beneficial.
And it's I'm sorry, I was just going to say it's projected for early 2020s, 2024, 25, right in
last
that
report I
area
heard was
somewhere.
2024.
Right.
I do want to talk very briefly about, in the last about moments together, the relationship, the strategic partnerships between Monroe County Community College and Eastern Michigan University.
Right.
What else is on the horizon potentially for us?
Well, as we continue to work on the relationship, one nice thing that Dr. Hershey is going to try to organize is to offer an online section of the Introduction to Supply Chain Management and reserve some spots for MCCC students.
Love that.
And I will be able then to use that class as an elective for the students pursuing their associate degree. That's just the little ripple in the pond, but it is a start. And again, it's just an example of how wonderful EMU is in working with Colleen Kibben and the entire Community College Relations Office. So easy to work with, and I just, it can't be, it is a model structure for any university that wants to work with community colleges.
Did you know about these types of relationships at the university that we've had?
I honestly have, I know there's some crossover with some stuff with WCC over here, but otherwise I haven't heard much, but that's because I live in Quirk. So it's always nice for me to get out and and
For
hear.
our viewers, Quirk is what?
Quirk is the theater building,
Thank you. The theater building. So
the communication building.
the communications building. In our closing minute or so, anything you'd like to say in closing, 30 seconds from us?
Well, just again, how much the community college and the president of the community college and my vice president, my boss, and all the faculty of the business division, we really appreciate the relationship with EMU. Anytime EMU's on campus, they're welcome to come to the classes and talk to our students.
And Paul Knollman, the Dean of Business for Monroe County Community College, we welcome you here to EMU today.
Thank you. Thank
we
you.
are so pleased to have this relationship with the college, with the community college, and we wish you much continued success.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's been great to chat
And
with you.
Sarah, thank you very much for another great show. And to all of our viewers out there, we want to wish you a very great week and a very great month. And we will check you out the next time on EMU Today TV. Have a good one.